Welcome to another episode with me, Tracy, the health coach. On this episode of Blocks and Barriers, today we have another special guest. We have Pamela Windle. Pamela is a certified women's health coach with over 20 years of experience in the health and wellness field, empowering women in perimenopause to look good, feel good again, and gain unshakable confidence by overcoming challenges like brain fog, low libido, and poor sleep. Pamela also advises forward-thinking organizations on workplace support. Having overcome her own chronic fatigue syndrome journey, she uniquely understands the challenges women face, and it is therefore such a privilege to have her here today. So welcome, Pamela.
Thank you, Tracy. Thank
You're so welcome. And we like to start with a little icebreaker. So if you're to have breakfast, lunch, and dinner with anyone, dead or alive, who would you have for breakfast? Who would you have for lunch? Who would you have for dinner? And why?
Oh, wow. Yeah. Breakfast, it'd probably be my mum. Because it's now 5 years since she's passed, so I'd love to have breakfast. And when I was a kid, she used to make on a Sunday, she'd make Sunday breakfast, and we'd have plantain and bacon, and I just love the smell of fried plantain cooking in the kitchen. So yes. For lunch, lunch probably be my dad, because that's now 11 years since he's passed. So I just like to sit at the table with my dad and just have a chat over lunch. My evening meal, who would that be? That'd probably be my daughter.
Nice.
Yeah, I have not seen her since October because she's been traveling.
Yeah.
So I can't wait for her to come back. She's very close to the UK. She's back in Europe.
Nice.
So she's back here next month. And yes, so I will be having lunch, evening meal with her.
Excellent. So family is key. And I think the episode I did before after this is again similar to you, just family. Family is really important. So me and you, we've had different discussions. We've had LinkedIn lives, we've had Instagram lives discussing, health and lifestyle. So for you, when discussing lifestyle, what are your key elements in your view to lifestyle, a healthy lifestyle?
Healthy lifestyle. I think, as we both know, starting where an individual is, where are you now in terms of your lifestyle? But I think if I had to say an order, it needs to sleep is so important. So we need to sleep. We need to be having a minimum of 6 hours and going to bed early, like lights out 11 latest, and making sure that we're asleep, between midnight and 2-3 o'clock in the morning. That's imperative for our health, longevity. I guess the next thing would be along with sleep, would be like natural light, exposing your eyes to natural light. That morning light is super important to reset the sleep-wake cycle, increase your melatonin, your sleep neurotransmitter, which actually supports your immune system and your hormone system. So it's all really important. So natural light early in the morning. And then I think maybe some quiet time. So I'm very much into meditation, and it doesn't have to be at the start of the day. It could be any time of the day, but I prefer to do it at the beginning of the day. Journaling, things like that. I think that's really good way for well-being when we talk about lifestyle. And then also movement needs to be part of everyday lifestyle management. We need to move some way, and having had chronic fatigue, I didn't move a lot in those 5-6 years that I was really poorly. But I think with me being a personal trainer, and I had banked lots of muscle for that point, that I didn't lose a lot of muscle rapidly overnight, being unwell for that length of time. So movement is so important.
And I know you've hinted on good sleep being, at least 6 hours or 7 hours, they'll say, and then getting that sleep between midnight and 2. So what is your definition of good sleep? Because I think this is where people feel, I'm well rested, so I had good sleep. So what is the truth about good sleep?
Yeah, and it's really interesting. So, like with my clients, because I work with women in that transition, and often, particularly as the closer they get to menopause, I often hear women say, "Oh yeah, I sleep really well," and then when I go a bit deeper, they're waking up 2 or 3 times to go to the bathroom, or even once a night, every night, to go to the bathroom. They're like, "Oh yeah, well I go back straight to sleep," but yes, you're asleep, but let's take a closer look. What's happening with the quality of the sleep?
Exactly. Because it's been broken if you're waking up 2, 3 times a night.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. You're not meant to needing to go to the bathroom every night. You should be able to sleep all the way through the night at any age. And if you're not, if it happens every day, I mean, a few times a week, but every day, then that's a little sign that something isn't right. Whether it is that you're not sleeping as deeply, you're not going through, the sleep cycle, the REM, the light sleep, you're not going through that properly. Maybe it's light sleep, so you think you're asleep and your body's stirring and you're becoming awake. Because when we wake up in the morning, it's naturally that we want to empty our bladders. So is that what's going on? Or is there a pelvic floor issue? Or, how much liquids are you drinking towards bedtime? And also, like certain drinks, like green tea, can be irritants to the bladder and make you want to go to urinate more often than you would ordinarily.
Yeah. And how is it important for women, especially in this perimenopause phase? How does the late nights and then you wake up early, you haven't slept well, there you are exercising. How will that affect your perimenopause journey?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just thinking about somebody that I'm working with at the moment who, was working late
Mm-hmm.
because they had a deadline and didn't go to sleep till 2 o'clock in the morning. When we looked at her watch, because we use like smartwatches, to have a look at stress levels and HRV, her stress was levels were really high. So she hadn't slept very well. There was virtually no dream sleep, so REM sleep, and virtually no deep sleep. A lot of light sleep and a bit of waking up during the night. And in the morning, she thought, well, actually, I need to do the skipping. I need to do this. I need to do that. And her body battery, so HRV, was really low. So there was just a real discord between actually, I feel so flat, but I'm overriding this feeling of feeling flat because I need to exercise, because exercise is the thing that will help me achieve the thing that I want to achieve, which
Mm-hmm.
could be weight loss. And actually, it's the reverse. At that point, being in bed at 2 in the morning, what would have been much better is for her to just go outside and sit in the light, do some meditation, do some journaling, do quietness, and and on the other side of that, what we can do with food to regulate the nervous system as well. But from a lifestyle perspective, instead of rushing to what she thought was the right thing. Well, actually, when we dialed in and had a really deep conversation about it, we could see that it was just their energy levels was just dropping the rest of the day. And in that, her stress hormones were up. And as the stress hormones go up, then that just worsens all of the symptoms.
Yeah. And it's so important what you're saying in that the element of relaxation, or having a relaxing morning routine, and then as a way of trying to reduce your stress hormone, so then that will reduce the impact or the symptoms that you're experiencing during perimenopause. So for someone who feels, okay, yes, I've got the children, I've got my business, I'm trying to do my invoices, at night is when I'm creative, how can we get them to resist that temptation to keep going and
Yeah.
just get time to relax because it's going to help them with.
Yeah, I mean, I quite like, there's a lot of talk, isn't there, about exercise snacks nowadays, these like 1.5 minute bursts of exercise during the day. And I really like them. But also, what else could women do that woman that you just identified? What else can she do? There's many, many tools out there that literally take seconds to do to get you out of that fight or flight, that, little bit of stress into this calm state really, 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 really quickly. Like, for example, there's one I do, just doing this with your hands. It's like a neurotransmitter. So it's a neuroscience technique, and it literally just calms your nervous system down instantly. So it's like, I think, for that woman that you described that's really busy and stretched different ways, I think for her, whilst like the exercise snacks would be good, because that's not, I'm going to the gym for half an hour or an hour, I am doing something during my busy day. But also along with that, times where she can implement little strategies that really calms the nervous system, that vagal tone, that vagus nerve, just really setting the intentions that her body is going to become. She can breathe better. She can think better. She shows up at home better. All of those things are so much easier to manage when we have balance with everything.
Yeah. And you've also mentioned the importance of a healthy, balanced meal. So for women in perimenopause, and especially maybe when their sleep is not as good as it should be, what can they do to make sure they're eating the right nutrients?
Yeah. I mean, social media is littered with so much information, and I do feel that it's information overload for women,
It is.
and actually stop them from progressing, because I think they just come in a wheel. Try this, try that, it's not worked, oh well, let's try something else, and don't get to move on from where they're feeling. And I think one of the things that's quite trendy is intermittent fasting. And whilst there are some benefits for that, but for women who aren't sleeping, that is the last thing they need, is to be starving themselves, and not eat until 2 o'clock, whatever. Actually, if you're struggling to sleep, either to get to sleep or stay asleep, then it's really important to have breakfast as early as possible. That break from that fast is super important. So if your breakfast is at 11 and you're still not sleeping, bring it down. If you wake up at 7, have breakfast by 8, and make sure that breakfast is nutrient dense. Try to move away from breakfast in a box
Mm-hmm.
or breakfast from a plastic bag, like bread and bagels and all those things. Have a real breakfast. Before Mr. Kellogg's was there famous,
Mm-hmm.
and rich, we ate food, and I think we need to go back to that, of eating food.
Yeah.
So breakfast needs to be, a good quality fiber, and I mean fiber from vegetables, and just don't stick to vegetables like mushrooms, tomatoes, maybe steamed kale. No, how about having some cabbage or broccoli? Who says that you can't have broccoli for breakfast?
Yeah.
It's
So
crazy, isn't it?
yeah, mix it and vary it up. Yeah. And because of
Yeah.
that nutrient, you're looking for the nutritional value. So yeah,
Yeah. So,
incorporate it.
experiment, try different things for breakfast. You can have Swiss chard instead of spinach, or, you could have chocho, like shredded on your meal, or carrots, So you could have all of those things for breakfast. So a good fiber rich breakfast with a good source of protein, whether that be plant protein or animal protein, and don't just stick to eggs or salmon. Who says we only have eggs
Good
or salmon
proteins.
for breakfast?
Yeah.
It's all been made up. You can eat absolutely anything for breakfast. Tempeh, tofu, lentils, beans, chicken, ham. You can have anything for breakfast. And I think when we start to move away from this is breakfast, this is lunch, which is a salad or a soup or
Mhm.
a sandwich, and then your evening meal is where you have the potatoes and the vegetables and la 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 la. No, actually, in reverse, if we had breakfast like our evening meal, we wouldn't even need 3 meals a day. We could cope with 2 meals potentially,
Yeah.
and that would sustain us, and our energy levels would be up, and our brain would be functioning, and we'd be sleeping.
Exactly. Yeah. And then that leads to when people are not sleeping. It's interesting because in my pharmacy work, people are very resistant to medicine. But then when it comes to sleeping, yes, I understand, you want to get quality sleep. You can see the effect on your life. You're irritable, you're not concentrating, you're moody maybe. So you just want something to help you to sleep. So then people will resort to the supplements. So in your view, what's the thing we should consider or bear in mind when it comes to supplements and sleep?
Yeah, and the supplement industry is huge.
Mhm.
Now, the building blocks to make your melatonin is there's a little bit of pathway, and when I talk about it, I always talk about it like making a cake, and you've got to have all the right ingredients in to make the cake. So you need to have iron. So women need to know the iron status. Where is your iron status? If you are in perimenopause and you are, bleeding heavily, we want to know where your iron status is and your ferritin status. And they want to be in optimal ranges, not just okay. They want to know iron. Obviously, estrogen is part of that cake mixture, and estrogen is now starting to taper off in that perimenopause. Well, actually, it's progesterone first, then estrogen more when we hit post-menopause. But the fluctuations might affect your sleep as well. Then we want to have, so we've got iron, we've got your B vitamins, so your B6s. So you want to have foods rich in B6, and we might want to take a B6 supplement, but I prefer with all the Bs to take a complex rather than just, choosing one supplement, one B supplement to focus on. So a B complex, good quality one could be really helpful as well. Then the other thing is 5-HTP. 5-HTP unfortunately goes down with estrogen. So post-menopause, women could struggle with 5-HTP. So you could take that as well as a supplement. And then they all go into a mixing bowl, and that makes your serotonin, so your neurotransmitter that makes us happy, and then serotonin makes melatonin, and that's the cake formula for good night's sleep. But the other thing I'd like to also add is that I like magnesium for sleep. Because magnesium, as we know, most of us are deficient in magnesium, and magnesium really is great for calming the nervous system, so down-regulating the nervous system so that you sleep well. So they're kind of the ones that I really like when it comes to sleep. There are some other things in the market that are good for sleep, but I think they would be my go-to. Maybe a B, again, nourishing the adrenal glands, nourishing the ovaries, maybe a 5-HTP and also magnesium.
And how do we make it that, yes, you can take the supplements, but you still need to eat your healthy, balanced meal? Because sometimes it almost feels like, okay, I'll take the supplement and I can eat anything I'd like to eat. So how do we get people to understand, no, you still need to um, eat that healthy, balanced, nutritional, dense food?
Yeah, because the supplement industry is huge. It's a
Mm-hmm.
multi-million pound industry and growing fast for that perimenopause, postmenopausal woman. Stick the word menopause on it,
And
you're
it's a
a
seller.
billionaire
Yeah.
overnight.
Yeah.
And so, you could take all these supplements. You could be drinking alcohol. You could be staying up late at night and
Mm-hmm.
you're still not sleeping. But because
Yep.
you're taking the supplements, you think, oh, well, this is a magic thing that's going to make the difference. No, all of it comes together, all of it. Your mental load, like women in midlife that you described, she's got the children, she's got the elderly parents, she runs
Yeah.
a household,
Mm-hmm.
she's, employed or self-employed, she's looking after the children, she's got worries about her future self, her parents are aging, she's worrying
Yeah.
about that. So that mental load will really impact your brain function. There's really good research to say that mental load does actually erode your brain health.
Mm-hmm.
So when we talk about brain fog, is that what's going on for you? So yes, mental load, making sure that your nutrition is right for you as well. And like I've just described, breakfast needs to be like this, and all of your meals really need to be much the same, full of antioxidants, a lot of color. And color doesn't have to just come from fruit. So, for example, a woman isn't sleeping, and actually, sometimes fruit might be a little bit too much for her in terms of it just spiking the blood sugar levels. So, maybe you want to avoid fruit for a short time. Maybe you want to add more things like radishes, instead of berries, or red cabbage, instead, more of the colourful vegetables rather than sweet fruit, just for a short time whilst we reset the balance. So yes, so making sure your food is full of lots of antioxidants, lots of green vegetables to support that liver detoxification. And if you are on a plant-based diet, making sure that you're having a variety there to feed the microbiome. And if you eat animal protein, make sure you're chewing your food really well
You're
as
just gobbling it
well.
up, inhaling it.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. How many people, I say this when I do my lives
Yeah.
and, workshops, like, how many times do you chew your food?
Mm-hmm.
Are you chewing at least 30, 35 times before you're
Yeah.
swallowing? And most people are chewing three,
Yes.
5, 10,
Mhm.
and that will make a difference
Yeah.
to your sleep hormone as well.
Yeah. And I remember there was a client I was working with, and she had indigestion, and just that simple movement of just taking your time to chew in a short time, she was so amazed. Just that simple thing. Meanwhile, she'd been taking the Gaviscon and the this and the that, but just chew slow.
Yeah, yeah. Your body makes these natural digestive enzymes.
Does,
Your
yeah.
body knows food's coming. It's all there. Mother Nature knows what's best.
Does. And when it comes to the sleep tracking gadgets, how
Yeah.
can we take a balanced approach where you're not too obsessive about it, and you're also maybe listening to your body? How can we take a more balanced approach to the gadgets that help us to track our sleep?
The gadgets are amazing and they do work. But I think they can become obsessive, particularly if you're not sleeping and it's starting to worry you. I would just say, just take them off. Just take them off. Don't use it anymore for a little while. But I think seeking help with somebody that can help you understand, well, what is causing you not to sleep? Is it hormonal? Is it cortisol? Is it your insulin just being off balance? What are the conversations you're having with yourself? That sort of mental load. So they work. I use them with my clients. I use the Garmin watch particularly. And I also use, continuous blood sugar monitors as well. And the two together gives us so much information about a person. I really feel like I'm a fly on the wall. Sorry. Yeah, I feel like I'm a fly on the wall living with someone,
Yeah.
getting to see exactly how they live their life.
Mhm.
So they work, but I think they can be obsessive. Like with the continuous blood sugar monitor, what have we learned? Take some time to not use it. What have you learned about yourself?
Yeah.
And then we can implement that, and then we then retest. How is that going? What we can implement the things that we've learned, and I think those things can be quite obsessive to some people. But again, I think if you're doing it alongside with someone that's able to course correct, then I think it's kind of unlikely that you'd be obsessed with it.
And now both of us, we've had chronic illness. You've had your journey with chronic fatigue syndrome. I long COVID, and thank God we've come out on the other side and able to help people with their own journeys. So when it comes to sleep and chronic illnesses, what can you say about that?
Yeah, so interestingly, so when I had chronic fatigue, so it was viral.
Mm.
Epstein-Barr virus, which we got to the root cause of why I was fatigued. It wasn't adrenal health. So I actually slept. I didn't have a problem with sleep, but I didn't wake up feeling amazing. I felt pretty flat all day for nearly 6 years. And I think the temptation, because I ended up going to a chronic fatigue community online on Facebook, but also in person when I could. And I think what I feel that those people did that I didn't do was stay in bed late in the morning, and stay up watching TV late at night. And also because, taking care of yourself it's challenging. And when I remember I used to make these burgers. And, just the mere processes of making these burgers was exhausting. But so people sort of resort to eating processed food as a result because they don't have the energy. And I really understand that. And I remember trying to slice bread and just didn't have the energy to cut through the bread. But what I did do, which I'd advise anyone that has anything like that, is to batch cook or ask somebody else to cook for you. Be brave enough to ask. And also, try to, if we're not moving a lot, try to eat easy digestible foods like soups and broths because we need stomach acid to break down proteins in the food. And if we're not moving, we're not making enough stomach acid. So that will sort of increase energy levels. So in terms of sleep, going back to what you said, asked about sleep, I would try to like us all stick to a routine of sleep,
Yeah.
going to bed, even though you may be off work, maybe going to bed at the same time, 10 o'clock, 10:30 latest, and set your clock for, 8 o'clock and get out of bed, expose your eyes to the natural light. As you know, and I know, my healing journey took a year from start to feeling amazing was a whole year, and it happened incrementally, and I was consistent with the things that I was doing. I was determined to get well. And so don't be disheartened if this is you. Do reach out and get support because we're both a testimony that we can regain our lives again.
Okay. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's the thing, the common theme that comes out in the people I've worked with is a routine. And sometimes we really underestimate it. We think the routine is only for children when it comes to sleep, but we too, we need it. So even though you've been poorly, just keeping that routine, it can also just help you with your mental health. And at least you feel you're doing something. You're not just wasting away. So it's all about unlearning these habits that have kept us awake. And a routine is important. Your meals are important. So how do we get for the women who are used to doing it all, grinding? What's the first step they can take to just start to unlearn all these things so that can get better sleep and support their perimenopause journey better?
Yeah, I think well, you said it there, unlearning.
Mm.
We've moved so far away from nature, so far away. Most people get up in the morning, don't even consider that it's a brand new day. It's a brand new day. Like, what a privilege to
Yeah.
be in a brand new day. We go to sleep at night and we expect to wake up, but just like gratitude for a brand new day is like so powerful. It can transform your day in an instant. And I think that if you are struggling with sleep, energy, brain function, whatever it is in the perimenopause journey, gratitude at any time of the day is wonderful, but I think specifically in the morning. But also, like where you are right now, often people know what they're doing, what's impacting their sleep. Are you scrolling on social media at night? Are you drinking? What I have seen, what alcohol does to sleep, how it increases your stress levels, not just that day, how it affects your blood sugar levels, not just that day, the day afterwards as well. So, how often are you having alcohol? I've even seen what sugar does,
Yeah.
what carbohydrates do. High level of carbohydrates, the bread and the
Yeah.
pasta.
Yeah.
I've seen what that does. And they're all the things that we've been programmed to thinking this, all of this is normal.
Mm-hmm.
It's all normal. If you exercise, it's okay. I'm healthy because I'm going to the gym. I've got a gym membership. Woo!
Yeah. The
And
deception.
yeah, I thought I was healthy. I was a personal trainer
Mm-hmm.
and I thought I was healthy, but I got a virus that took me down,
Yeah.
which I'm really grateful for, by the way, because if I hadn't been unwell, I wouldn't be
You
here
did.
right now doing what I'm doing.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. So sometimes it's the simple things. And yeah, as you said, we've been conditioned because even just the other day I was thinking in growing up in Kenya for breakfast, the traditional is tea and bread, tea and some carbs. It's just carbs, carbs. There's nothing else. And we do this for a long time. And I was wondering, these are maybe some of the things that over time your body can try and compensate. But then over time, then this is where, your body, your insulin resistance comes in. Then now where we're wondering why we're susceptible to type 2 diabetes is
Yeah.
because it's been a long-term lifestyle of just not eating as healthy or nutritionally balanced meals as we can. But thankfully, when we come into these spaces, we can continue to educate people. And I think people are also learning as well. So I'm so grateful, Pamela. What else is next for you in your work with women? Actually, no, before I go to that, is there any success story of one of the women you've been working with when it comes to her sleep and just how it literally changed things for her?
So let me think, who am I working with right now?
Or
So
even maybe from before.
from before, yeah, I'm just trying to think who is there that's pop into my mind. So the person I'm working with currently in my metabolic rewiring program, she's a postmenopausal woman, actually,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and she was not sleeping. She was sleeping about 3 hours and then getting up and doing things because she, had got to the point where she was exhausted with trying to sleep. And so we've been together now 12, no, less than 12 weeks, about 10 weeks now. And she's sleeping.
She's
She's
sleeping.
sleeping, yeah.
What
And
do you think is working for her?
she just say that she's a postmenopausal woman as well.
Mm-hmm.
which is, really interesting, not even perimenopause. But what's working for her? Well, she's got colitis as well, so an autoimmune. And so we've been working on reducing and supporting her immune system because she was eating foods that were triggering her immune system. So we reduced those and put more foods in that wouldn't trigger immune system, because as the immune system was triggered, that would be causing stress in the body, and that stress, over time stop her from sleeping. So we did that. We also worked on blood sugar, did some calming things as well, meditation, seeing the sunrise in the morning, movement after meals. So whether it be a walk after a meal, she goes on a bike now after a meal, not all the time, but she kind of mixes it up. Yeah, and she was great. She doesn't really watch TV, so that wasn't a problem. But it's more the start of the day, sort of grounding routines at the beginning of the day. Little bit of salt in the water, Himalayan salt or Celtic salt in the water in the morning to rehydrate her properly. And her food. So this was a tricky one because she is on a plant-based diet. And with the immune response, a lot of plant-based foods actually do trigger the immune system. So that was tricky, but we've managed to find a way by reducing a bit of the pulses and adding more vegetables in to really calm her nervous system down, and she's sleeping.
So, when you think about your sleep, with what Pamela has said about what good sleep is, when we should be sleeping, what the body needs, do you feel you're getting good sleep? And if you know you're not getting as much sleep as you need to, but you still feel okay, does your body feel okay? Is it sending any signals that it's not okay? These are signs for you to do something. And the good thing about it is there's something simple and small and realistic you can do. And if you keep doing it, you'll build up consistency and you'll get good sleep, even if you've not slept for 7, 20 years. There's always something you can do. So let's think about that. That's excellent. That's really excellent. So it's just possible things, because sometimes people think it's impossible. No, it is possible. The things you eat, relaxation, especially at the start of your day, then that really sets the tone for the rest of your day. So yes, Pamela, what else is next for you?
Well, I mean, yeah, I'm currently at the moment working with one-to-one clients. Over the summer, I'm running retreats. I've got a half a day here in Nottingham, 31st of May, and then I've got a full day in July, and then October I've got a weekend retreat. So over 3 nights, and that's just for 6 women. So it's going to be a really small, intimate occasion, which I'm really looking forward to. And then come fall, so come September, I'm going to reopen my signature program. And that's around longevity, it's around metabolic health, weight loss, sleep, all those things for women. And then I am looking to do some other creative things as well in that space. But right now, I've got my program, which is the membership program, I've got a special offer on that. So it was £47 a month, and I'm reducing it now to £6.99 a month.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, and it's an amazing program. You get me in there. We'll have a live once a month, and there is information, recordings around sleep, anxiety, brain fog, gut health, relaxation recordings. It's just full recipes. There's all sorts of stuff in there that it's just a fabulous package. Yes, so I'm saying it for £6.99, and nobody knows about that till tomorrow in my newsletter.
Okay. So we're getting it exclusive.
You are.
Oh yeah, oh, that's lovely. And I can see, the theme of this conversation has been relaxing and everything. So I can see why you do the retreats, to just get women to relax and just, reduce their stress hormone levels, and then that will help your perimenopause journey. So thank you so much, Pamela. Thank you so much, viewers, for watching. You've had it just natural, simple, your food, relaxation, starting your day just in a calm way, trying not to overdo it, and learning some of the habits that have kept you awake. It is possible. It is very, very possible. And just start somewhere realistic for you. Maybe if you're scrolling too much, reduce that and then just keep it going. Consistency. And where you need support, you've had Pamela's details. I'll share them in the description. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and share with someone you know is struggling with their sleep in their perimenopause journey, so they can learn and grow and experience a better journey. Thank you always, and take care of yourself. Bye.